Awesome. Okay. Hi, guys. My name is Lindsay Dollinger with the Selling Sisterhood podcast, and I'm super excited for you guys to meet Chani. She is a relationship coach, and I'm going to let her tell her story because I'm going to say she's from the US. She's not currently in the US and has a really cool story, and I've only heard part of it. So, Chani, thank you so much for being on today and tell us all about you.
Well, thank you so much, Lindsay, for having me. I'm really excited to be here. So, all about me. Well, I'm a relationship and dating coach. I've been in the coaching field since 2013. I used to help people find fulfillment and meaning in their lives. And I pretty much realized in about 2020 that I was just talking about relationships with everybody that were all my clients. So I said, why am I not a relationship coach? And I actually realized it was because I wasn't married and I felt insecure about officially being a relationship coach, even though that's what I was. And I said, that's not a good enough reason for me to be like hiding behind a window. So I said, that's it. I'm a dating coach, a dating and relationship coach. And that's pretty much how I got into it. And then that's a reflection as well of my own journey.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And I love that you were just like, I'm going to do it and I'm going to get out of my own way because that is a huge thing that holds so many women back is they're like, well, I haven't achieved like, whatever the epitome of the thing is. And so they're afraid to just put themselves out there and go for it. And I love that you were just like, no, I'm doing it.
Yeah, 100%. Because I saw that my reason was that I felt like I wasn't qualified or something, 'cause you have to be married to be qualified, and I was like, "No."
Yeah. Okay, so tell us you were just telling me a little background on how you ended up where you are now and who you are with now. So share that with us because I think it's a really cool story.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So I totally manifested my fiancé. Um, I had pretty much 3, I think it was 3, I forgot, but 3 huge heartbreaks, and, pretty much the last 2 relationships, the first one was with a narcissist, and I was scared of leaving the narcissist, and a coworker of mine had been, like, really interested in me. I saw no future with him, but he kept on persisting. He kept insisting that I go out with him. So eventually, I just said to myself, maybe this is how I'm going to get out of the old relationship with the narcissist. So I did end up leaving the narcissist, which is a huge blessing. But now I was in another relationship that was also toxic. So when that one ended, they were each a year and a half. So after this 3 years of a whirlwind, I started getting really serious about helping myself with my attachment style and what dating for me looks like. So once I started working on myself, one of the big things I learned was that I had to just accept life fully as it is and to be in a place of receiving. So that's pretty much what I worked on for that whole first year was being able to feel my feelings, let go of, anything I was holding on to, beliefs, or trying to control reality to avoid pain, which also comes up a lot in business, by the way. And then what I realized is that just simply accepting life and receiving. So I decided to work at like a Passover hotel. That basically means that a group of people, be it a company, an organization, they will rent out an entire hotel for the week of Passover, a Jewish holiday in the spring. And I worked there as a day camp counselor. And one of the guys who was working there he was working in the kitchen with the food, and he is now my fiance. So I totally just met him doing me, having fun. I wasn't even looking for somebody. I was just going to have a good time. And that's where I met him. So then 3 months later, we were both in Israel at the same time. And we
Which
started going out.
which is just like, how is that even a thing? Because you're from the US, but you said you want a trip, right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I skipped a big part. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got an opportunity. I, the story is so long. When I
Yeah.
tell people, I'm like always thinking, what are just the main points? Let's share the main things. But I got an opportunity to be a counselor for a birthright trip. Birthright is a trip that is free for anybody. In the US, they have them in Australia, England, other countries as well. To come to Israel, if you have a parent who's Jewish, it could be one parent or both parents. It doesn't really matter.
Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know that
Yeah.
that
Oh,
existed.
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I got to be a staff member, I got to be a counselor for it.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I got to be a counselor, and they provide you free transportation. So you get a free flight.
Oh my gosh,
And you
that's
don't get paid for it, but you get a free flight.
yeah,
So
that's okay.
everybody wants that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I came to Israel. I had previously lived here,
Okay.
so I was familiar with the place.
Mhm.
And I didn't take the flight back. I decided to stay. And and then I had no idea when I would go back to the States. And it's more than 2 years that I'm here. More than 2 years that I'm back.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I'm engaged to someone who's from here. So we
Now,
dated for 2 years and got engaged after the 2-year mark.
was your trip before COVID? Did you get, like,
Yeah,
stuck there because of COVID? Was that any part of it, or would you have stayed regardless?
I have no idea. That's the truth.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it was working out, so I was here, but if
Everything
it
just
wouldn't have worked out,
yeah,
I would
that's
have
so
gone to where it does.
yeah, yeah, everything just, like, fell into place. You're the second person I talked to a gal, Magdalena, who does Pinterest a couple weeks ago, and she was telling me that, like, basically her business and everything the way it is now, like, is a direct reflection of events that led up, like, her school was canceled in Italy, and so they had to take their RV through and, like, they had to find another way to make money, and, like, it's just so crazy how everything just happens the way it's supposed to happen, you know what I mean? Which I think
Oh,
is so
absolutely.
yeah.
100%.
Okay, so tell us, you said before you met your fiancé, you went through this, like, self-work for, like, a year with being open to receiving. What does that look like for someone who's listening and they're like, "I have no idea what she means by that." Like, give us some examples of some exercises or, like, was it exercises? Was it a small group or meeting with someone? Was it reading? Like, what helped get you to that point?
That's
If
a
you
really good question. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So, I would say that there's a lot of pain I was running from. So, it wasn't that there was something specific that I did or something specific to do, it was more about not running from myself. So, it it really started with compassion to myself, I'd say. Compassion self-compassion, and also, like, being okay with how I felt. Like, I remember there was some days where I just didn't, I don't know, have the energy for working, or I was able to work, but I had this idea, I have to work 8 hours. Even
Mhm.
though I work for myself, I still had this idea, "Oh, I have to work for 8 hours. That's a full day."
Yeah.
And, and then there was just days I wasn't up to it, or especially after leaving, the last relationship that, was, like, the last heartbreak.
Mhm.
There was a lot, like, emotionally that was coming up for me.
Yeah.
Lots of grief as well. Just, grieving the loss of the fantasy of,
Mm.
the relationship with the narcissist, and just all the pain that I had covered up over these 3 years and also from before.
Yeah.
So, when let's say I would be telling myself, "Oh, I have to work." And then what I had learned in the year that I was focusing on really, changing this pattern of mine of attracting toxic relationships and, attracting loving relationships, was that being compassionate to myself and seeing myself, "Oh, I don't feel up to working right now. That's
Mhm.
okay."
Mm. Yeah.
And, and that I'm not lazy. It's not coming from a place of being lazy. It's not coming from a place of lacking responsibility. It's coming from a place of truly seeing myself,
Yeah.
which actually helped me to be more successful financially. And it also helped me to with my relationships, because that's building intimacy. That's really the first step of building intimacy, is seeing yourself.
Mm. And that's so hard. I feel like for so many people to really do, like, that kind of relationship, that deep relationship. I know, like, I even can feel when I'm really aligned with myself or, like, when my energy's off, and I'm like, I'm falling into bad habits or bad patterns or negative self-talk, and I'm like, "I know better than this."
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I love that you took that year, though, and you're like, "This is my year of, like, figuring all this out and really reflecting and working on myself." I like that a lot. So, you had your business, though you started your business in 2013. Is that what you had said?
Yeah.
Okay. What does that look like? So that side of things. Do you do like one-on-one coaching? Do you have programs? And like, how did you finally, when you were like, okay, I'm going to be a coach? Like, did you just like, tell your friend, like, how did that look like? Because I know everyone likes to hear those stories of like nothing to where you are now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a lot of one-on-one clients that I worked with, and I recently opened a group program helping
Okay.
women with insecure attachment to become securely attached and also attract lasting love with men who you can have a secure, loving relationship with. So that's actually really exciting.
Yeah.
I have less one-on-one clients now, but I do sometimes work with people one-on-one if I see that it's a good fit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so going back to the beginning, you know, I actually it wasn't a big I'm gonna be a coach thing. It
Okay.
was more like it was more of a big I'm not gonna go to college thing.
Okay. Okay. I like it. I like it. I love your energy.
So
You're like, that's not for me. I'm not doing it. I'm going to make something else work.
pretty much, exactly. I knew I wanted to do something like be a psychologist or social worker. This is like my hand was doing this, but it wasn't in the camera, but so I wanted to help people. I knew I wanted to sit in a room and talk about problems with people and help them solve it. But when I looked at the degree system, to get
Mhm.
a if you get a bachelor's in social work, you don't see any clients when
Right.
you and to get a bachelor's of social work, you see your first client in the first year of your master's degree.
Mm. Yeah.
And I was
Right.
like, I'm not waiting 5 years to sit in that room and talk to people about their problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, that's what I want to do. So I said,
Mhm.
okay, what are my other options?
Yeah.
Then I looked at psychology. Psychology, if you want to be it's like you can't just be a psychologist, you have to be a clinical psychologist if you want
Uh-huh.
to be a therapist. And also, I don't remember exactly what it was, but you don't see clients in your bachelor's degree at all. So I said,
Mhm.
"What? Why would I get an education in the something I don't want to do?" But
Yeah.
this is apparently the path. So I said, "Okay, what else?" And then I
Mhm.
found a coaching program and and I was really wowed by the curriculum that I saw. It spoke to me. I connected with it, and it was much cheaper than going to college. It was expensive kind of, but
Mhm.
comparing it to a university, it
Right.
was it was pennies.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it was I'll give the numbers. It was an $8,000 course for the year.
Okay.
And I was comparing that to, $30,000 a year
Exactly.
minimum to go to a college. It could have been 60,000,
Yeah. Yeah. Easy.
And yeah, easy. And if I had gone to a community college, that would have also been about $8,000 for the year.
Mhm. Yeah.
So as the way, and that was a 1 year program, and you see clients in the program.
Okay. Okay.
So
Was
that was pretty much the path.
was it for relationship coaching specifically, or was like life coaching and you decided to do the relationship coaching side, or what did that program look like?
It was a general life coaching program,
Okay.
and they taught different tools
Mhm.
within the coaching realm.
Yes.
Um, yeah, including CBT coaching, NLP coaching, coaching for depression. If I don't know if there's coaches listening to this, the SMART model, the GROW model, these are like old coaching models that they've been teaching since the beginning of the industry. Um, and the wheel of life exercise,
Yeah,
like
I've
all
mhm.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So all these things. So it was kind of like a grab bag of coaching tools.
Oh, that's kinda cool. And then you can just,
Yeah,
like, pick and choose and modify stuff for your own coaching business.
exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. So then you were able to sell clients while you were doing your training.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah. So actually, my first paying client was while I was still a student,
Oh, that's so awesome.
which was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was much more awesome than getting a degree.
Yeah.
I'm not against
Really
degrees.
thrilled.
I just want to make that clear. But I was really happy to get hands-on education.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's so interesting because I'm a high school Spanish teacher and what we've always been preached and what I have done to kids myself is like, okay, you go to college and you get your degree and then you figure out and it's been really cool to watch that change. And I mean, I've only been teaching, this is my 13th year, but from when I started to when now, like when my students come to me and I'm like, well, what do you want to do? And then we start talking, it's not always a college discussion anymore. And I think that's really cool because there's a lot of different ways to get that real hands-on experience that you don't necessarily need a degree for. Can you get one? Yeah, sure. But like, I guarantee what you learned in your life coaching program helped you with your business way more than one of those degrees would have done.
Yeah.
I would assume. Yeah.
I would also assume. I didn't do a degree, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But but I can definitely say that I'm very happy with it. I
Good.
did go on to study for the next 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I studied advanced coaching after for a year. I did 2 years of addictions counseling and then a year of psychotherapy.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. So you have
Yeah.
like all sorts of things then that I'm sure you're able to help people with because I bet some of those things are probably the roots of issues with relationships when you're starting
Yeah.
to coach people through them, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Tell us more about how you got started with small group coaching.
Small group coaching?
Mhm.
So the most recent thing, honestly, was I was saying the same things over to my one-on-one clients, and I said, "I'm gonna just record this and make a group program."
Yeah, that's so smart.
Yeah, but I'm gonna take it even, like, a level deeper, is that I truly believe that there's a value in group settings that you don't get in one-on-one. Maybe in one-on-one, you can have more private time with the coach,
Yeah,
so it's, like, very specified for your situation, but
right.
a group program, you first off, if you have recorded videos, you don't typically have recorded session. You could record the session, but when you have recorded videos of content that research has shown that people in a specific situation keep having these patterns showing up in their life, and you can describe that and give the tools in a recorded format, people can come back whenever they want to the videos.
Yeah,
So, because everyone grows at different paces and different things happen in people's lives. So, it's a shame to spend so much money on one-on-one coaching when you could have a group program and possibly even gain more because in a way it might even be like aligned with your life more so because as go through your own journey, there will likely be a video in the curriculum that will be able to help you through that.
yeah. Yeah, it totally makes sense. I like that. And it also allows you to scale your business just from the business owner side. I mean, I'm sure you've been able to take on way more clients by doing some
Oh,
work.
absolutely. Yeah, as a business owner, it was probably one of the smartest decisions that I made. But what I really love about it though is being a business owner, it's very important for me, and I'm sure your audience would likely connect with this idea that I don't want it to just come from a place of business. I want it to come from a place of business and heart.
Yeah.
That smart business choices are also heart choices. They're
Mm,
not these like cold business, corporate type of choices. They're
yeah.
truly heartfelt and it comes from a place of serving
Mm,
rather than just, all right, what's my bottom line?
yeah, I love that. Oh my gosh, I feel like there are so many people who just needed that reminder, myself included sometimes because you get especially, I'm working on coming up with some new small group programs myself. And
Mhm.
I mean, obviously, we wanna be profitable and make money and, impact, but that's my word of the year is impact because I want to impact and serve as many people as I can but in the highest way. So like I'm trying to figure out that balance between like how to do that while also automating, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
automating as much as I can too, because it's definitely something tricky that I feel like can be hard to figure out that balance in business.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I know exactly what you mean. And what I've actually done to overcome that, because when I get stuck there, it doesn't work.
Yeah. Yes,
It
yeah.
just doesn't.
Mhm.
Then I get frustrated, and then I'll be like, "Okay, I have to work harder." Like these are all the thoughts that will go through my mind. I have to work harder, or I have to find a different technique. I need a different structure. It's always something technical, or I have to work harder. And then I
Yeah.
get to the point where I'm like, wait a minute. I need to slow, like, just in terms of my momentum and my energy, to just slow down and release, let go of, I need this because this will give me that. And
Mm,
I'm relying on this to give me this income. I'm relying on these clients to give me an income. I'm relying on this program to somehow market itself and with or whatever it is, so that I'm going to have an income, and it doesn't look pretty enough. My website's not good enough, whatever all these things are. And really, all it comes down to is that I just let go the same way I did right after I got out of the last heartbreak relationship I was in,
mhm.
and just said, okay, I'm letting go of the things I can't control.
Ooh,
And then everything starts slowly kicking into motion.
yeah. Oh,
There's always,
good.
I'm going to say something that I say to all my clients. It always comes up in the sessions. There's always this time like you let go and the things don't come right away. There's a very scary period before you start seeing the things come. And everybody, no matter how experienced you are in this or how unexperienced you are, it's the same for everybody, will always have to go through that time where you're just waiting, kind of like in limbo.
Mhm.
I use a metaphor of jumping off of a high dive. When you jump off a high dive, there's going to be that time that you're falling from the high dive into the water.
Yeah,
You can't escape that if you're on a high dive. No matter
yeah,
how many times you go off, no matter how professional you are, you always have to go through the air before you hit the water.
yeah.
But once you hit the water, you're fine.
Ooh, guys, you need to, like, stop this, rewind, and listen to that again because that was so good. She's like, "I need to be charging all of you for this knowledge." No. No, that's true, though, and I feel like it's almost a part of our society where we want that instant gratification, and if it doesn't come, then it's, like, all the imposter syndrome coming in, you know? Whether it's in a
Absolutely.
relationship or your business or anything in life, we want the stuff right now, and that stop and slow down and allowing it to be and happen, when it's gonna happen is, I think, really powerful.
Yeah, 100%.
And
And I
it's
think it's so powerful because you're really allowing something greater than yourself to be a part of you.
yeah. Yeah.
That it's not just about you.
Yeah, I love that. Do you, by any chance know your human design? Have you
No, I don't.
Okay, I'm just wondering because you've mentioned this period of rest a few times, and, you should look it up. I talk about it
Okay.
I ask almost everyone, which is so funny because 'cause it's been, like, my thing that I've been, like, looking deeper into, but it has to do with your birthplace, when you were born, and maybe your birth weight. It asks a few questions, and so, like, everyone, like, has one, and it's kinda like your chakras and, like, your energy and all this, but anyway, I wonder if you're a projector because that's what I am too, and it's like you want to work and do all the things and, like, the work harder, but, like, you do your best, like, work when you allow yourself to rest and recharge and, like, accept the things, and you've mentioned that a few times, like, I wonder if that's what you are too. You'll have to find one of the free tests online and fill it out and let me know because I feel
Okay.
I feel like I'm getting, like, projector vibes from you. 'Cause I'm like, "That's totally what I am."
Oh, awesome. Hey, if it's a projector and you end up coming to visit Tel Aviv and I'm here, I'll take you out to lunch for it.
Yes, yes, there we go, there we go. Hey, girl, if you're staying in Tel Aviv and I end up there, I'm gonna message you anyway, and so we can meet up because that's so crazy. Like, you went over with your free trip and met up with your fiancé who well, he wasn't your fiancé then, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's all those things that end up like, if I'm in the same city as you, we definitely have to get together and say hello.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that'll be so fun.
Yes, awesome. So, what is one piece of advice before we hit off here for the woman who's listening to this who's like, okay, I haven't been successful in relationships up until this point, and I'm feeling really overwhelmed with the process of maybe finding someone while also building a business or while also working full time or any of the things like and maybe she's feeling like she shouldn't even get started. Like, what would you I know that's kind of a loaded question because 'cause you're like, "Whoa." We could say a lot about this, but what's one piece of advice you could give her?
So the typical advice that I would give in this situation is whatever you do to be successful at work is not going to help you find love.
Mhm. Okay.
However, I know that many women in the entrepreneurial space are using lots of tools that you do use to find love, like what we've talked about, right? Like spiritual concepts, allow, receive, um, give your heart into your business, be of service. You know, sales doesn't have to be this like cold hearted, forceful type of a thing. You can allow people to want to buy your program. You can present it and not force them to buy. If they say they're not interested, that's also okay. They don't have to be, right?
Right.
So if that's where a person is coming from, then that the typical advice that I find myself sharing with my clients is going to be a little bit different. But the typical idea is that people will be very successful in their personal lives, in their work life and all that. But when it comes to relationships, relationships are about intimacy. So the key is really, are you able to build an intimate relationship with another person? And that's one thing that I think is the core and like very, very important. And then
Mhm.
another thing is red flags. Sometimes we notice red flags and then sometimes we don't. That's another one of the things that a lot of my clients have had a hard time with. They only see red flags later on in the relationship and they say, "How did I miss this?"
Mhm.
So, red flags, the things that make those alarm bells go off, it could be from many different reasons. And the things that don't allow our alarm bells to go off could also be from other reasons. And that's usually connected to a core wound from our childhood.
Okay.
So, oftentimes when we miss red flags in relationships, I see that as it's actually a good thing in a sense. It's painful and it's not, fun thing to experience, but we get to learn from it. And then we can ask ourselves these questions and we get to connect more deeply to ourselves, which brings us back to the intimacy point. So really, people who have struggled in dating, it's often an intimacy problem of some degree. And all of the struggles that you encounter, you can always use that to come back to intimacy.
Mm.
So I
Okay.
would say to put your focus in that direction.
Yeah,
Is, it,
yeah.
is that making sense to
It
you?
does, it does. It's really deep. That's why I'm just
Yeah.
like, I have all these thoughts going in my mind. I'm, like, analyzing my own life right now. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that's so interesting." Oh my gosh, I have loved our chat so much. I just love your energy and I love what you're doing. I mean, there's such a need for helping people have healthy, happy relationships. Um, because that energy goes, to your whole life, I feel like, into every aspect of your life. And I feel like everyone listening, or if you're watching this on YouTube, really can see that, like, just from your positivity and your smile and your energy. Like, that's just who you are, and that's what you're teaching to your clients, and I really, really love that. How can everyone connect with you? And guys, I will be sure to put all this in the show notes as well, but if people are listening and they're like, "I really wanna work with you," whether it's small group or one-on-one or whatever, where can they find you or find out more info?
They can find me on Facebook or Instagram.
Okay. What's your
Yeah.
hand?
It is at Chani M Coaching. I don't remember. Is that bad?
Fine, I love it. Guys, I'll put it in the show notes. I will tag you in the show notes, and you can just scroll down and click friends. Oh, I did have some questions for you. I almost forgot. What, and I actually have been asking a couple questions at the end of all my interviews anyway. The first one is, do you have a morning or evening routine? And if so, what does it look like?
I am not a routine person in general.
Okay.
However, recently I have been having sort of a routine. It's more like a boundary, I'd say,
Okay.
that I make sure to go for a walk by the beach, or if it's, raining or too cold outside or something, I'll go to watch the sunrise or to watch the sunset.
Mm,
That I always get to have time in nature every day.
I love
I like to do that after I wake up
it.
because I
Okay.
find that the mornings are very like, the way you treat your morning will dictate the rest of the day.
Yep.
So yeah, so that's part of my morning routine is pretty much making sure I go to some place, um, that's nature. Evening is letting go, letting go. I'm not at work anymore.
Yep.
Um, there's some times where I'll put my phone to the side and don't check it, but
Mhm.
I would say it's rather than a routine, it's kind of like a theme of that time period of the day.
Okay.
And then the physical things I do might be different. But it's winding down, it's time for myself, it's processing the day and kind of like having a closure with the day and knowing that tomorrow is going to be a new day and yeah, that, just to kind of really feel whole with the day and so I don't fall asleep with thoughts
Yeah.
of, "Oh, I could have done that better. Oh, oh, what about that? Oh, I'll make more money if I do this."
Mhm.
And all those thoughts can keep me up at night, and they only lead to anxiety because you're not actually gonna feel better from trying to control your income or whatever right
Right.
before you go to sleep. So
It'd be nice if we could though, wouldn't it?
right? Yeah, exactly. It would be so lovely. But you know what? Maybe it wouldn't be that lovely. Have you thought about that?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
then we don't have time for ourselves. But of course, I'm with you on that. I think it would be lovely. But then when I think a little bit bigger and I'm like, would I really like that?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
yeah.
feel like you're like you think so deeply. I love it. You're like, "But would that really be a good idea?" And you're like, I never thought about it that way. Now that you're saying that, yes, is correct." So funny.
Aw, yeah.
Um,
It's funny. I recently was just thinking about like I was speaking to somebody. I also have a foundation. I'm raising money to help women who pretty much need the services that I offer, but they don't have to work with me. It's a separate foundation that is not connected to my business. But
oh,
the inspiration came from people that wanted to work with me and couldn't afford it. And I said, we need to solve this problem.
yeah.
But anyway, so I just started getting larger donations. And I've been talking to people who are able to give larger donations. And just from feeling their energy and seeing how they handle things, it's just different from people who
Mm,
have less money. I was
yeah.
like, wow. And I was like, I don't know if I would be ready to have a lot of money very fast. Just like feeling the energy of it and also how it changes relationships with people and things like that. And also just learning about how to connect with people who are wealthy,
Mm,
to pretty much bring them on board with the foundation and all that stuff. I'm learning all this and I'm like, like having a lot of money, it's in theory great, but once you're there, there's a lot more responsibility, like
yeah.
emotional responsibilities that come with it.
That's so funny because I literally just had a very similar conversation with my coach last night. I was talking about my membership. So I have a membership for women in social selling. It's Disney themed, which I think you said you were a Disney fan.
Mhm.
So I
Big
have
Disney fan.
yes, and I just launched it in December, and so I have this really big number of women who I would love to be in it by the end of the year. And, um, I was telling her my numbers currently, and I was like, "But you know what? I don't think I'm ready for that big number yet. Like, I'm okay with where I'm at with my business and, like, the slow, consistent growth. I'm glad that there's not 500 women in my membership right now because I'm already still trying to figure out the systems and how to communicate with everyone and still keep it intimate and how to get back to everyone's questions. And someone has a billing issue and like all these things. And I think there's something really beautiful about that process of, learning as you go along to be able to talk to those people or have that same kind of energy of the, like anything like that. I think there's a really beautiful, like the journey is really beautiful and it's there for a reason so that you are ready for that bigger thing when it's time for you to have it. Does that make sense?
100%. Yeah. And that's what I'm noticing is
Mhm,
that the skills that I'm able to learn in my life now are so valuable because
mhm,
please God, when my business will be a lot larger. And then the truth is I'm not one who has this dream of being really rich. I just want to live very comfortably, be able to put my kids through school, university without having to feel anxious about it, to be able to pay for kids' weddings, things like that.
yeah,
And also for my own life. But I feel
yeah,
like those big milestones are the ones that are like the big deals.
mhm,
But so like to be able to do all of that comfortably
yep,
and and I believe I will be there.
you will. I know it.
And
I feel it.
yeah, oh, thank you. Yeah. But the thing is that the skills that I'm learning in my life before that I'm there, I think are going to be really helpful for when I
Yeah,
will be there. Because I can't imagine what life would be like without the tools that I'm learning now. If I
yeah,
would have, let's say I would have been, like one of those 20-year-olds that manages to just have all these hustles and I don't know,
mhm,
makes either multiple hundred thousands of dollars or million or whatever. I would have missed out on so much that I'm learning now.
yeah,
So if that's you, if you were that, 20-year-old who was super successful, awesome, great job for you. I'm totally for that. If that happens and that was what was meant for you, that's amazing.
yeah,
But on the other side, it doesn't mean that you're losing out because you didn't have that in your life. Like
yeah.
everyone's life is meant for them, and I think in the end of the day, we're all here to co-create.
Yeah. Ah, I love that. Oh my gosh. This was like literally the best podcast interview I have ever done. Like,
Aw.
I just love your energy and you just gave us so much value. So, guys, make sure you scroll, I guess you would scroll up or down at the bottom of your podcast at the bottom of your podcast app. I will put all of the links so that you can get into touch with Chani and work with her more and give her some love and share out this episode so more people can find her because I have a feeling that you will see her name in other places around the world, no matter where you're at, literally no matter where you're at, because national all over. But thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And thanks for sharing so much with us.
Oh yeah, my absolute pleasure, Lindsay, and I really enjoyed being here.
Yes, awesome. Well, thanks, guys. We'll talk soon.